All right. Hey guys.
Hi.
Hi. Glad you guys are all here. And we're going to continue our talk, lesson actually, on financial literacy. Previous lessons we talked about different forms of financial derivative money making tools that you could use while in business that also translate into real world tools as well. Principles that we can utilize with money that we have, with money that we don't have, with credit. And today in particular, we're going to focus on credit cards. You'll notice behind me, I've got a bunch of credit card paraphernalia, things that miraculously appear in my mailbox every single day. And most of them just end up, actually all of them end up in the garbage at my house, but I'm able to collect them for the purpose of this lesson to show you guys kind of what they look like and how they look, because I'm not sure if any of you have received anything like this. Maybe you have. Maybe you're at that age where they're starting to send you things like you're approved for this or get your first credit card with us. But I'll dive into why companies do that and why they want you to have a credit card later in the lesson. But for now, we're going to talk about an example of credit card usage, just to kind of give you a basis for what I'm going to explain and how I'm going to explain it later in the lesson. So for this example, we're going to use a hypothetical character, and we'll call him Bob. Bob the builder, okay? So Bob's got a project lined up for later this month with a homeowner, anonymous homeowner, and they want to have Bob build them a deck. And as you can see, there's a lot that goes into building a deck. These are footings, those are all concrete. You got to have all the things to do that. You got to have all the lumber and all the stuff to put the decking on, framing, nails, brackets, all the things that go along with the deck. Okay. Total project is going to be about $6,000. Bob receives a deposit as a token of good faith and a good operating method of business. You do part of the work, get paid for part of the work, and finish the work, and then get paid everything in full at the end. So he's got a deposit of $3,500. $3,500 that he can use towards the project with a remaining balance of $2,500. Now, he's got labor for employees and subcontractors that perhaps maybe need to be paid. Well, not maybe, they do need to be paid for the work that they're going to perform for Bob and the homeowners on this deck project. So Bob will use the money that he's received for this project to pay for the labor, and he's going to utilize an account that he has to pay for the deck materials. How is Bob able to do this? Well, that's a good question. We're going to see how Bob does this. He's got a credit card that he uses to purchase all these materials. He could either earn miles, or he could earn cash back, or he could earn any kind of number of rewards. Gas, that's a good one right now, by the way, gas rewards. But he's got a credit card that he can pay for all of his decking materials to build the deck, and he's got the deposit that he can use to pay for all of his employees' labor, subcontractor labor, and whatnot. So they go ahead and they build the deck. Wonderful deck. It's a 4-season deck here in this wonderful part of the Northwest, and the homeowners love it. Bob and his crew are happy with it. Can they do it? Yes, they can. And they did it. So they're done. They paid for it in full. Bob has all of the money. And now Bob can go ahead and take the remaining $2,500 that he used for the purchase of the decking material that now he has received from the homeowners and pay off his credit card balance at the end of the month. So there's Bob the builder's fine example of how to use a credit card, how to use credit to your advantage. You leverage something that you don't have to use materials, or if let's say we could translate this into a restaurant. You could buy food, you could buy your raw ingredients to run a bakery, and then once you've sold all those items, you pay it off at the end of the month or the beginning of the month, whenever your billing cycle ends. So Bob, being a good builder, and being a responsible financial person, he ends up getting the money and paying it off right away. Now, there's a lot of elements involved with credit cards, and I want to emphasize a few of those elements. I'm going to just ask you guys a couple of questions just to see if from this simple example you're able to extrapolate any kind of information about credit cards on your own. So why do you guys think credit cards might be a valuable tool based on this story? Yes, Isabella.
Well, you don't get paid immediately.
Right, yeah, he didn't get the full amount for the purchases that he needed to make, so he was able to do it. What else? Anything else? Scarlett, you got something to add?
It lets you do more work.
Right. So let's say he had a bigger deck, a bigger project. He only receives a certain number of money from the deposit. He's still only got that amount that he's able to do to pay for labor, and then the rest of it would go to materials or any kind of other kind of costs that are associated with the project. So then he could use the credit card to perform that portion of the work or pay for the materials that are required or necessary. Good. Okay. What do you guys as students know about credit cards? Yeah, Isabella.
They give you a limited amount of money to spend.
They give you a what now? A limited? Mm-hmm. Right, because they're not going to just say, go buy whatever you want. Get a Lamborghini. You're good to go, right? Do you know what a Lamborghini is? What's a Lamborghini?
It's a car.
It's a car, okay.
Really expensive
Yeah.
car.
Okay, and then anything else? Yep, Scarlett?
They allow you to spend what you don't really have.
What you don't really have. Why do you think that might be something that banks would allow someone to do? You don't have to answer that. That's just kind of me diving into my next section here. So, credit card companies want you to have a credit card because they make money when you have an account with them from either a membership fee or interest charges, late fees, all of those things. They make money when you have a credit card. That's their bread and butter. Credit card companies are mostly banks or small financial firms or very large financial firms, and they make money. And on here you can see all these numbers that are all here. There's tables and charts and before and afters. Here's examples of what you could do with your mortgage and credit cards and home equity and current monthly payments and what your new monthly total could be. And they give you all these estimations and make it look all pretty and put a bow on it. And then you get into the fine details here. And let's look at this one here from Discover. It's a laundry list of all of the different variable rates, all of the different fees that come along with it. So there's a lot to look at when you're considering a credit card. A lot to know before you dive in and start making purchases all willy-nilly. So any other reasons that you guys might think of that credit card companies might want? Or is that what you guys were thinking? That's kind of what you thought? Okay. So how do you guys think Bob was able to get a credit card? What's that process like? Anybody know what the process is like? No? Thinking about it? Anything? No? So Bob was able to show that he had work from a job or he's got income coming in so that the bank knew that he would be able to repay the note that he had on his credit card. Okay. Anyone know how a credit score is calculated? No, I didn't expect you to. No big deal. There's 5 major elements to how a credit card company evaluates who they're going to give their money to and how much. I'm going to take all this down too because this is annoying me. And just set it right here. So, number 1, Number one thing a company evaluates, and this is called a FICO score. Okay, the FICO, F-I-C-O, is your payment history. And there will be a quiz on this later, so you're going to want to take notes. And you'll be able to use your notes for the quiz, because this is important information. Payment history. Okay, are you on time with your payments? Are your payments made in full? Are you just making the minimum payment? Those types of things. They evaluate all your activity in terms of payment. And that accounts for 35% of your FICO score, your credit score. Okay. The next one is your debt to income ratio. Oh, that's a D. Debt to income. Okay, that they take into consideration how much money you make and compare it to how much debt you currently have. And then they evaluate that to make sure you're going to be able to use your income to pay for your debts. That accounts for, 30% of the credit score. Okay. Next, it's how long, the duration you've been using credit. So, duration of credit. Some people, like you guys, when you get your first credit card, you probably won't have a very good credit score because you've not had a credit card to make payments or compare to your income. Okay, so they're not going to have a whole lot of information to base any of this off of for people like you guys. Or, for that matter, anybody who has never gotten a credit card. Because not everybody uses credit cards. And the duration accounts for 15% of the score. Next is what types of credit cards, what types of credit, what kind of accounts you've got. So types of credit. Okay, there's all types of credit. There are credit cards, which is what we're talking about now. There's home loans, there's car loans, there's small business loans. There's all sorts of ways that you can borrow money from banks or from companies that want you to take their money so they can make money off of your money and they make more money. It's a weird process. And that accounts for 10% of your score, which leads us to number 5. And if you can do the math, it's the last 10% and it's your recent activity. Recent activity. Okay, and that is the last 10% of your credit score. So a company evaluates all 5 of those elements. Well, they may not. They might have a third-party company evaluate that for them, and then that'll determine how much money they give you. There's all sorts of factors that when they issue you a credit card or they issue a credit account, they give you a limit. They give you an annual percentage rate, which is every year, every month, you'll have a percentage. So let's say your APR is what they call it, is 20%, right? That's a lot. So for every $100 you spend that you don't pay back at the end of the month, so let's go $100. What's 20% of $100? No, that's 80.
$20.
$20. Thanks, Amanda. So plus $20, right? So that's $120. So something that you bought for $100, if you don't pay it off at the end of the month, it turns into another $20. So it actually costs you $120. That's why it's important for Bob and for anybody who has credit to pay off what they have on accounts before they use that credit again. Excuse me. So that's one element, APR. Late fees, if you miss a payment, they'll tack on a late fee. If you continue to miss payments, they'll tack on another late fee. They'll slap, and all these things will show up on your credit score, right? Payment history is the number one thing companies evaluate, and a late payment or a payment that's not in full is evaluated and considered in your future credit endeavors. Okay, so then your credit scores, it's based on a scale between 0 and 850, okay? And I'm going to, everybody have this written down? Yeah, good. I'm going to erase this. I'm going to keep Bob's deck up there because that took me a while to draw. Kind of proud of that. But your credit score, 300 to 580 is a poor credit score. Okay, and oftentimes that's people who don't have good credit. They just don't have very many credit cards or no credit cards at all. They make bad payments. They have bad debts. It's just, it's easy to get sideways with credit. Okay, so this is a very important lesson for everybody to learn. Excuse me. So a fair credit score. Sorry, poor here. A fair credit score is between 580 and 669. 669, and there is an I in fair. I can spell. A good credit score is the next, and that is 670 to 739. A very good, and then excellent is the next one. I'm just going to write it up there. Very good credit score is 740 to 799. And then 800 and up is an excellent credit score. You'll always want to try and be as good as you can be with your credit score because that's the best place to be. Excuse me. I'm going to take a drink of water here to get that. Okay. So what would the appropriate ways to use credit in a business be? Does anybody have any ideas? Just anything you could think of. We know the example that Bob gave us, right? To buy materials. Anything else? Scarlett? Okay. I'm just anything. Can you name anything that you might purchase on a credit card?
Supplies for the company?
Oh, great. Yes, supplies for the company. High five. Good job. Supplies for the company. So if you're an office, you're going to need pens, right? Paper, toner for your ink, or not for your ink, for your printer. Oh, sorry, we just had a light surge here. The power bill. That'd be a good one. Actually, when it comes to buildings and those types of things, companies should have cash on hand to pay for all that out of their operating expenses. What about a company picnic, or you take your employees out to lunch? Yeah? Everybody likes food. That'd be a good one. Or a trip to Disney World.
Or to pay for your dinner, for your family's dinner.
Or to pay for your your families. Yeah, so here's the deal. I'm going to be done coughing after that. Credit cards can be used for anything in business as long as you're responsible with them and you pay for what it is that you use the credit card for at the end of the month. Otherwise, what happens when you can't pay? It's debt. And what happens to that debt? I just talked about that $100 turning into $120.
Goes up.
Interest rates. Yes, interest is what banks would love for you to have really bad credit, because then they just keep tacking on the interest and they make lots of money that way. But good use of credit is the way Bob did it, right? Purchase your stuff, handle your business, pay it off. There's multiple modes. You could use a restaurant, for instance. If you're making your payment at the end of the month, at the beginning of the month, whenever your statement is due, that's good, responsible credit use. There's varying levels of credit responsibility. I would say the person who pays their bill off every other month because they're not using it a whole lot and their projects are taking that long, would be a decent use of a credit card. Now, if you're letting your credit build and it's tacking on interest and you're only making minimum payments, that's probably not a good thing. And what happens if you don't pay your bill? We already talked about this. If you don't pay your bill, obviously they're going to have fees, late fees, and it's going to really affect your credit score. So it's a big deal that you have good credit when you're going just in your life in general. It's important to understand that if you're just going to use a credit card to make purchases for something you never intend to pay off, it will impact your life. It will impact your ability to, buy a house, because that will affect your credit score, a car if you ever want, or if you wanted to, buy property. Any of that kind of stuff. Anything that takes money that you don't have, that you need to ask for someone else like a bank or a credit company to loan to you, because that's really what it is. It's a temporary loan that you intend to pay back. And if you don't pay it back, they're going to make money on late fees and interest fees. So it's important that you guys understand that late fees and interest fees are bad, first of all, and they affect your credit score, secondly. And that was 35% of your total credit score was your payment history. Okay, so we've got a good basis for the good ways to use credit, right? Who was our example for that? Bob the builder, right? Good. So he did a great job of putting his deck together for his homeowner, paid off the materials right away. And we now know the credit score kind of ranges. We understand how the credit score is evaluated. You know about interest rates and late fees and finance charges and those types of things. So you've got pretty much a good understanding of credit cards. Does anybody have a credit card currently sitting in the room? Yeah, I mean, I do, obviously. You saw all my junk. They target me. Okay, well, when that time comes, just remember this lesson, remember this discussion, remember, be responsible, don't overdo it, and know your limits. Okay, I've got a test that I'm going to pass out here, so we're going to go ahead and do the evaluation. And it's really not hard. It's based on everything that I just went over. And if you have any questions, if you're looking at your notes and you're thinking, well, I didn't take very good notes, maybe I'll give you guys a couple of minutes to ask questions, talk to your neighbors, see what kind of notes, compare your notes, okay? Sit there and compare your notes, work with each other to make sure you guys all have the same information and information that is what I had on the board, okay? So I'll give you a few minutes to do that, and then I'll pass the test out, and by that time it should be time to go. But if you don't have any questions for me now, I think we're good to go, and you guys can break into pairs, groups, whatever you want to do, and handle your business, and I will get this over with. Thank you.